Hello, my name's Roger Coghill, and I want in the next 3 of my talks to talk about 3 natural plants. And you'll notice I've taken off my lab coat because there's not going to be any need to process these plants in the laboratory in any way. They are 3 naturally growing plants, but I believe that taken together they will provide health and recuperation and a better quality of healthy lifestyle than people would have without them. You may remember that I said how the father of medicine said that make your food your medicine and your medicine your food. Hippocrates, the guy who created the Hippocratic oath used by all doctors. Well, here are a few plants which can be regarded as food supplements because they don't always get into the normal diet found in the foods we buy in our supermarkets, but they have special properties, and it's those properties that I'd like to talk about now in 3 separate talks. Well, the 3 plants I'm going to talk about are aloe vera is the first one. Tall fescue is a grass, that's the second one. And the third one is Cannabis sativa. And those 3 plants together can be found. The first 2 grow naturally in the UK and in Northern Europe. The aloe is more usually found in warmer climates such as Madeira and south of Portugal, but pretty plentiful in all of those places. And those 3 plants can all be milled into dried powders, and it's important not to heat them up for reasons I'll explain. But when they are dried and milled and mixed in the right proportion, they can be encapsulated and offered on the market as a food supplement. And a great supplement it would be too. Well, let's start with the aloe vera. Aloe vera grows naturally, as I say, in warmer climates like Madeira. It's for thousands of years been known as a curative plant. Some people even believe that it might be the same as the asphodel used in Greek mythology to cure diseases and wounds. And certainly if you apply it, the gel, the natural gel from aloe vera to your skin, it will help where you've had a burn or pain of any other kind damaging your skin. But not so many research programs have identified why aloe vera is so potent and so helpful in helping you get better from minor ailments. And recently we've found that it is the different kinds of sugar within aloe vera which are doing the job. As I may have explained already in other talks, what our cells have around them in their membrane is a whole forest of sugar. And these sugars called the glycomembrane, the glycocalyx around cells, don't only feed the cell, but they have a more important role in delivering information, catching information from the brain and from other cells and delivering it inside the cell so that the cell knows what is going on in the outside world. And these sugars are very specific. They have different kinds of glycoproteins, a great number of them really when you think about the structure of a normal sugar with its carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. They can be capable of infinite variety, and as such they can collect very precise and different messages and relay them inside each cell. And it's that use of sugar, these special sugars, monosaccharides as opposed to polysaccharides, which gives them this special ability. Now the trouble is, of course, that most of us don't eat aloe vera normally in our diet, and you won't find these special sugars, and I'm talking about one called fucose, not fructose, that is pretty plentiful everywhere, but fucose is another sugar, and mannose, which aren't so plentiful in normal supermarket foods. But they have the ability to deliver energy into the brain and the parts of the body that need it, and they also have this incredible diversity which will allow them to act as first messengers on the outside of cells. When you get cancer, as I think I've explained, what's happening is that it's a metabolic disorder. The cancer needs a lot more sugar than it should have to make energy from glucose, and it's not, because it's changed its energy pattern, it's gone to make energy from in a more primitive way without oxygen, and that primitive way needs 3 times as much sugar, and the cell therefore takes the sugar from outside its membrane, all those glycoproteins and in the glycocalyx, and uses them up, and when it's done that it can't hear anything from the outside world. There's no more informational content coming in, so it doesn't know what to do. So it becomes no longer a part of our body, starts dividing outside of regulatory growth control, and bingo, you've got a tumour. I've talked about ways of resolving that problem, but that is an example of how these sugars act as providers and catchers, if you like, receivers, like antennae. They are literally like antennae with sialic acid residues coming off them, just like a TV aerial, and they do collect this information. So, providing this information to the cells by means of aloe vera will help those cells to understand what's going on and how to react to it. And that is basically the first of the plants I want to talk about. And if I now give you some examples of what it can do, you will find this interesting, no doubt. Aloe vera is known to be helpful in solving wounds, but it has other properties. It appears to be able to reduce pain. It appears to be able to reduce seizures. It appears to be able to correct even small mutations of the human cell. And these corrections are because it uses different sugars from those where the damage is done. For example, where the glucose transporter, which carries the glucose into the cerebrospinal fluid, is deficient, and the transporter cannot do that because it can't be made because of the mutation. And what happens then is that the patient or the sufferer cannot develop their brain fully. There's probably not full myelination of the brain. The energy levels in the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, are low, and that leads to epileptiform seizures across the brain surface. It leads to what are called absences, where the brain is just simply not functioning for a while, for a small period of time. And these together with an intense feeling of tiredness most of the time cause a really serious disorder. Fortunately, it's extremely rare, but we think that if we can use a different transporter, the glucose transporter being absent, but if we use a fucose or a mannose transporter, and they have their own transporters on different genes, this might solve the problem. We're hopeful of that approach. Well, that's one example, but there are plenty of others where I've seen cases recorded of quite serious cancers being reversed after the use of aloe vera. And what may have happened there is that the cell which has been devoid of its sugar coating, its glycocalyx or glycoforest, if you like to call it that, has been put back. And when the forest gets back its sugar, it then can listen to what is happening in the rest of the world and come back into regulatory growth control without actually being destroyed. It just changes back its means of creating energy to the normal oxidative phosphorylation means that we normally use, and then acts just like a normal cell again. And those are just two examples of what happens with the ingestion of aloe vera. There must be many more. In fact, there is a book which I'll put up later called the 8 healing sugars. And these healing sugars are all monosaccharides, only one of which is glucose. The rest have different names. Well, that's the first plant that I want to talk about, aloe vera. It's not, you can buy it simply in shops in many forms, in gels to put on your skin, in powders to eat, in liquids, juices, tinctures no doubt as well. And so it's commonly available, but I think people aren't very sure of exactly how it works, and I hope that in this talk at least I've been able to throw some light on that. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll talk about the other two plants in two separate videos later. Thank you.